This week from Marvel Comics, Blood Hunt issue number 4, written by Jed McKay, art by Pepe Larraz. I realize it's high time for me to comment on Marvel's big summer event, Blood Hunt, as I've been keeping up with the series thus far, including some of its tie-ins, like Midnight Suns by Brian Hill, which feels like a continuation of his Blade series, by the way, and Dracula by Danny Lord. To be honest, I found myself initially disappointed with this climactic comic book event. I feel that I, like a lot of comic book fans, am beginning to feel the fatigue of world-ending upheavals in the Marvel Comics universe. That formulaically and graphically dispatch Earth's mightiest heroes one by one until a select few can save the day at the last second and then they bring everybody back to life. The first issues of Blood Hunt seemed to boast this typical structure, which made me feel sad and conflicted. Knowing that the title featured some of Marvel's traditionally underutilized and cult favorite characters that I've been longing to see in the spotlight for years. How can you not be excited for the likes of Blade, Moon Knight, Bloodline, Dracula, all emerging from the shadows of the Marvel comic book universe to star in the new hit event series? Ultimately, with issue 4, I'm glad that I followed my passion as a fan and my faith in head writer Jed McKay, who has also seen a rise in prominence and popularity these days. Seriously, I do not understand how that man even functions. I'm starting to wonder if there are any other writers at Marvel, or if they're all just Jed McKay in a convincing wig. Issue number 3 of Blood Hunt is what really started to draw me back in, with the assembly of the core team of the series, which is comprised of an incredibly unique cast of heroes. And it's in issue number 4 that we see that team cunningly unleashed upon the vampiric hordes. I can't talk too much about the series without giving things away, which means spoilers ahead. Issue number 4 of Blood Hunt, the remaining party of heroes splits up in order to gain the upper hand on the unbelievably powerful and primordial Blood Coven and their new vampiric leader, Blade. Now, I initially took issue with this shocking choice to make Blade the primary villain of the series, because frankly I would have rather have seen Blade be the only hero capable and knowledgeable enough to fight off ancient vampires, as seems more fitting with his character. However, as I've read further, I do have to give credit to Jed McKay's world building of the vampiric takeover, as well as the palpable sense of betrayal that comes from Blade's villainous shift. In issue number 1 of Blood Hunt, McKay was quick to show that the vampire takeover was swift and surprising, catching whole nations unprepared. Except in Latveria. This is precisely where Clea and the ghost of Doctor Strange, who was killed by Blade, by the way, have to venture in order to talk to the man most familiar with the sinister power of the Dark Force, Dr. Doom. Doom explains to Clea and Doctor Strange that he knows the truth of the fate that has befallen Blade, who as a daywalker has been made a host for the resurrection of the first vampire, Varney. Varney? I don't know how to say it. Which is a fun possession angle that makes this book all the more pulp horror tinged, which I'm a fan of. Dr. Doom continues the reveals as he shows that he has already sequestered the entirety of Strange Academy in order to perform a spell requiring many mages in order to control the Dark Force, but in order to pull off such a Herculean task, he needs to be the Sorcerer Supreme. This is precisely the kind of dramatic, world-shifting ultimatum that makes these big event comic books so exciting and memorable. And I wish that Marvel in general would make more long-standing use of the big decisions that are made in these culminating events. Which I'm hopeful will happen in this case, because I would love to see Doctor Strange in his own solo title series wrestling with the in-the-heat-of-the-moment decision to bestow the power and title of the Sorcerer Supreme on the likes of Dr. Doom. A solo series which just so happens is also written by Jed McKay. I think that the event fatigue that I mentioned previously stems from the lack of communication and crossover between Marvel writers. But in this case, Jed McKay is playing with characters and themes that he spent years developing, which is a refreshing change. Meanwhile, our heroes from the Midnight Mission, Moon Knight, Tigra, and a secret third accomplice, have all been teleported to Asgard. Our clandestine heroes sneak through the halls of Asgard, past the godly vaults, and arrive at the holding cell of the god Khonshu. It's here that our third member finally steps into the light, revealed to be the reformed villain, the Wrecker, who wields an Asgardian enchanted crowbar. This is one of the most inventive, playful, pure comic book moments that I've seen this year, and I couldn't help but smile reading it. Next, we cut to New York City, where Blade, or Varney in disguise, stands atop an ancient vampire temple from the days of old Atlantis, unearthed from beneath Wakanda and teleported by dark magic to New York streets. I hope that I'm not alone here when I say, fucking what? All of that needs to be explored. I don't care if it's a Blade comic, a Dracula comic, or a Namor comic. That quickly summarized era of time seems rife for exploration and deep, evocative Marvel lore. Varney's origin story, as well as the Captive from Al Ewing's Venom series, are too intriguing of characters to be lost to the annals of the Marvel Wiki. Anyway, as Varney communes with the Dark Force, he waxes poetically about his original evil intentions, insinuating that the entire vampire species was kind of a mistake, because it was just a step or a transformation along the way to becoming the living Dark Force. I need Dracula to beat his ass. I'm trying to make this review as objective as possible, but if that doesn't happen, I'm going to be sorely disappointed. I know that this is an Avengers and Blade-centric comic book event, but Dracula is such a powerful mainstay character of the Marvel comic universe that they don't utilize as often as they should, in my opinion, that if there isn't at least a scene that screams Dracula versus the first vampire, like something out of the old Tomb of Dracula comics, in the vampire event book, then it will be a huge wasted opportunity. Rant over. Varney continues to consume the Dark Force. He is momentarily distracted by the bright presence of the moon and the god within, who unleashes a whole army of previous Fists of Khonshu on the vampiric hordes. This bold, rebellious move allows the previously possessed Black Panther to remove one of the Blood Coven's stakes, to imprison the most powerful Avengers in issue number 1, which allows Thor now to break free and bring the Avengers to the site of this unholy temple. Though it was slow to develop, the finale issue of Blood Hunt has a lot of potential to be an impactful, historic moment in current Marvel Comics, promising an intense, visceral battle on both temporal and magical fronts. And only time will tell if these apocalyptic, huge summer events are what Marvel comic fans want to read and collect, or if it's time for a universal narrative shift. In either case, stay tuned for the next big summer event coming right around the corner with Venom War starting in July. Please support your local comic book stores and catch up on Blood Hunt on shelves now. It's clear from pages like this that Pepe Larraz is a horror comics fan. Love this whole idea of having to rob Asgard. And also, I've never seen it look like that before. It's so cool. I mean, come on, what an image. That is epic. This is the kind of imagery I wanted from this event, so I'm glad we got here. I legitimately got chills at this panel. Let me know what your thoughts are on current Marvel comic book events and what your favorite event from the past is.